Hello, and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. I'm your host, Shayna James. So happy to be here with you today. And today's episode is different than anything I've done before. So I wanted to share with you a live coaching session. And today's guest and I collaborated. His name is Luke Adler. He is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. He's a shadow work facilitator. He's an incredible man. And as we were recording our podcast episode, definitely check that one out. It's with Luke and with Jason Lang as well on shadow work. As we were debriefing our episode, we talked about recording a coaching session where Luke was going to bring a challenge that's happening in his marriage, and be vulnerable and courageous and actually show what it's like to work through a struggle in a vulnerable way. And I have incredible admiration for Luke, bearing his soul. I think it was vulnerable for both of us in a way. So for me, I don't always like to be watched or listened to, especially as I'm working with people. It's a very sacred kind of experience, and I don't often know what I don't usually know what I'm going to say. And if you ask me what I said a moment later, I usually don't know because I'm just there in the moment and being present with the person. So, in a way, for someone to listen to this, it feels vulnerable to me. But I think it's an amazing way for you to hear and understand how you can work through some of the struggles that you're going through, whether it's in dating or relationships, and not make the other person wrong. And, be willing to know yourself in a deeper way, to know your partner in a deeper way. And so I wanted you to be able to hear a man who is committed to his growth and to deepening and to vulnerability so you can get a sense of what this is like. And hopefully it can inspire you to grow and open and have more love and appreciation for yourself as well and for your struggles, rather than shame or some kind of sense of being wrong. That said, I know this episode will be slower than some of the others you've listened to. So you may want to play this on faster speed. You may want to skip certain parts. I would highly recommend listening to the end because you will get more of the resolution, of what Luke decides, or understands about himself, and then decides to bring back to his relationship, and also how it impacts him as a parent. For those of you who are parents listening to this, the work we do in our relationships has a profound impact on the relationships with our children as well, and what we model for them that most of us did not have modeled for us. So I hope you enjoy this episode. If you have any feedback, any questions, please let me know. You can always email me, and enjoy. Okay. So I just want to set a little bit of context that I'm here to support you and that I know, knowing you the little bit that I do, like I just have deep respect and admiration for you. And I know how much attention you bring to consciousness and to connection and relationship. And so I just want to set the tone, right, of you knowing that I get that, and that how as practitioners, as facilitators, like we still go through struggles in our relationships, and we have wounds and we have trauma and we have history, and they come up in relationship. And so just deep respect for you, and want to hold space and support whatever's coming up for you.
Thank you, Shannon. When we talked about doing this, it was exciting because I like to teach from a vulnerable, transparent place. And I love when I get to work with someone who's a really high level facilitator. And I rarely work with anyone unless they're really at the top of their game. So, when you and I hatched this idea a month ago, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And um, yeah, my intention is to be vulnerable and basically treat this like a session
Yeah.
and get your expert guidance and powerful space holding. So yeah, this is fantastic.
Great. Good. Okay. So yeah, so let's take a moment and why don't you just check in and see, um, what is it that you're really wanting from this time? If you could have anything, or if it could support you in the best way possible, what would happen? What would you get?
I'd love to get another just another kind of nuance and subtlety
Yeah,
of presence, particularly when I'm in conflict with anyone really, but in this example, working through something with my wife. Um, to me, that's really where the rubber meets the road in all of our healing work is,
yeah,
hey, can I stay present in this moment when my fight or flight, you know, uh, dorsal vagal response wants to take over and I want to shut down or attack,
totally.
you know, can I just keep staying open inside of this intention to stay connected, to keep building intimacy.
Yeah.
So that I'd say that's number one.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So a little more. Yeah. Sometimes it's those even small nuances that can really shift and allow for you to be more present,
Yeah.
more flexible in that situation, right? Instead of exploding or imploding, like
Yep.
actually being able to stay and
Yep.
witness and stay open-hearted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I mean, even a tiny iota would be a huge win.
Yeah.
I already have pretty good amount of skill, but there's still moments where I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like going into attack mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, why don't you share a little bit about the situation and
Yeah, it came up maybe 5, 6 weeks ago. My wife and I were doing a shadow work session, and she had brought up that, when we had our second child, I'm teaching, so I've been leaving the house since, we got married to go teach around the country this kind of work. And basically, our agreement was I would just continue to do that once
Mhm.
kids came along. So, um, and one of the, mistakes that we made is that once we had the second child, we assumed, hey, we're both pros at this. Let's
We
just
got this.
full steam ahead. And I wasn't really tuned into my wife's, she seemed fine. Her energy level was good.
Yeah.
She was enthusiastic. And so anyway, she started to get sick. I think she was not feeling well, and I was scheduled to go teach and leave the home for 4 days. And to be honest with you, I was exhausted too. Right? We have two kids,
Right. Yep.
a lot of sleeping. We're up all night, and I'm like needing some reprieve from the house.
Yeah.
And although teaching's work, it was like kind of fun. We got to
Teaching
be over.
feels like a vacation compared to parenting.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, the short of it is that, fast forward five years, she says, when you left me that
Mm,
time to go
that time.
teach,
Yeah.
I completely broke down
Yeah.
and, you know, um, had to call my parents to come help, which was very embarrassing because I
Mm.
was hysterical and I hated having my parents um, see me like that.
Like that.
And, um, and you weren't there. You weren't
Yeah.
there. And she had then kind of projected that as like I wasn't ever there,
Uh-huh. Right. Became a
which
little
wasn't,
more global.
yeah, it became a little bit global. And I was like, hey, I'm only like away 6, maybe 7 weekends a year. So to me, that doesn't seem like a lot because my father was gone 6 months out of the year growing up. So I'm
Right.
like, I'm doing great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, her history is her parents were always home
Yeah.
because they were both school teachers. So,
Yeah. I
um,
know too, like for the feminine parts of us, I think I don't know. I think I can say this. You can tell me if you disagree, but I think
yeah.
in whether man, woman, whatever gender, like the feminine part can take one thing and then it feels like it's
Mhm.
always, right? It's like there's this sense of you, if you're not there for me this one time,
right.
it's easy to globalize and be like, and you're not there for me. And it feels like that, right? And
Yeah,
I don't feel supported. And powerful too to see like some of these experiences can be held for years and years and years. And sometimes we don't even know it until it's like we hit a geyser or something.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that because that when I hear my wife say like you're not here or you haven't been present, it really actually bothers
Hurts.
me.
Yeah,
It
I can
hurts.
see.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
I'm honest, it hurts because I work
So
um,
hard.
so hard to
Actually.
be present,
Yeah.
to be present. And sure, there's times when I'm exhausted and my presence is diluted.
Yeah.
But my healing journey, Shayna, has been one of scaling back my intensity at
Yes.
work. So
Yes.
I have some at home. So when I hear like you weren't home or always, it it hurt. It does hurt, if
Yeah.
I'm being honest.
Yeah, I can feel the hurt and I can like there's this feeling in my chest like it's like a knife kind of scraping across me too. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what it feels like for you, but that sense of right, like the thing that I'm trying so hard to do not being recognized or actually being like counter
Yes.
yeah.
That you're nailing the dynamic that um God, this is like triggering the whole kind of string of
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
And I like you said knife. It's almost like I think of like the flat part of the blade,
Yeah.
not the pointy part, but the
Not the
flat
pointy
part
part. Yeah.
scraping
Uh-huh.
like the inside of my chest cavity.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not a stab. It's just like a grating in of basically like you're fucking up here. You're not. You're
Mm.
not a good father. You're not
Oh
a good
gosh. Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to have that reaction too, right? It doesn't always work with our partner, but right here, right
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
To really feel that, like, what the fuck? Like, I am trying so fucking hard and giving my
Exactly.
all. And
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
why is that not being seen or
Exactly.
acknowledged?
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to name this too. And I know this, like, I'm reluctant to say it, but because it fits into like a male stereotype
Hmm.
and like a white male stereotype, but like the weight of being the primary provider for a family. And sometimes that's, a woman's role or a man's role or a
Yeah.
non-binary role. But whoever's holding that, the primary way to be like, okay, it's on me to ultimately like keep the electricity on and food
Yeah.
and water to actually inherit that weight, from as a young man was
Yeah.
the most stressful experience I'd had
Yeah.
until that point.
Yeah.
And then to continue to hold it in my nervous system every day
Yeah.
is immense,
Yeah.
and
It's big. It's
when
huge.
it is, yeah. And if you're out there, someone who's doing that, like to provide for your family, we want to do it in a dignified way. We want to show up. We want to, be strong.
Yeah.
Um, and in some ways, be impermeable to criticism around it. I mean, I think that's kind of the ultimate failure for the masculine is to
Yeah.
not provide,
Yeah.
but to be criticized and to not be appreciated and seen,
Yeah.
it's painful. It
Yeah.
really is
Yeah.
because it's not something that's, nothing about being an adult is easy. Parenting is
No.
fucking brutal and
Brutal.
providing is difficult. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be brutal, but it's just it's difficult to keep showing up every day,
Yeah.
particularly as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. No, I get
Because
it.
anyway,
Okay, so why don't you, yeah, take a moment and it's like we've got I can feel there's the intellectual layer of it. There's also the emotional layer of it. And just see, what it's like in your body as you're recognizing that hurt, that pain, the not being recognized, right? And again, I'm not no way like I'm not villainizing her. I think this happens in all dynamics and all relationships.
yeah.
We don't see certain things, we don't understand certain things about our partners, but let's just keep it with you and your hurt for the moment.
Mm.
And what happens as you let yourself feel that?
It feels good to give myself the experience and and at the same time, like I'm aware of, this started because my wife didn't feel seen and recognized
Yeah.
for what she was holding,
Yeah.
and that I wasn't seeing that.
Yeah.
So I can kind of feel the mirror of like, whoa, there's this blindness to each other's.
Yes. Yeah, which is so beautiful to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels kind of tragic in a way. It's
It
like,
is.
oh,
It's like that
fuck.
tragic, yeah, fuck. We love each other.
Yeah,
And it can be so hard to see each other when we're both in the midst of these really challenging roles and
yeah,
things that we're
yeah,
doing in the world.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, I can kind of sense now in a way she's like, see me, see what I'm doing, see what I'm holding for us.
Mhm.
And I'm like, see me, see what I'm doing. We're
Right.
kind of saying the same thing, but I'm like trying not to show that it's hard
Right.
personally. And
Yeah.
there's part
Okay.
of me that's like, hey, toughen up, like be more like me.
Uh,
Don't complain about this. Like
oof.
it's just hard. Like, come on.
Yeah. Okay. And so then now I can feel that whole another layer on top of that, right? So it's not just see me. It's like, okay, now right, I'm gonna try and suck it up, do the manly thing, pretend that it's not hard.
Yeah,
I got this, and maybe even you should have it, somewhere in
yeah,
there too.
exactly, exactly.
Um, and then it's like, fuck, I can feel that place where from working with men,
Hmm.
um, right, the vulnerability kind of gets subsumed into that. It's like a shell. Like I think the other day I was working with a client. I was like, oh yeah, it's like you're ice cream inside your heart, and then you've got that magic, that chocolate magic shell that gets kind of hardened
Yeah,
around the outside.
yeah,
Yeah, and the again another tragedy of like the loneliness. I don't want to put words in your mouth
yeah,
so you can say for yourself too, but of having to hold that.
yeah. I do feel that now as we step closer into it. There's like an aloneness
Hmm.
as I like hold that privately,
Yeah.
and I could feel my dad's just energy of just push, keep going, don't stop, like
Yes.
let nothing stop you from succeeding.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and which like it's that's no sensitivity for an emotional process.
Hmm. Yeah. I feel the bracing, and it also sounds exhausting.
Right, right. Just a reflex to override anything that feels vulnerable or tender. Or
Yeah.
and when I'm really, historically caught in that energy, I start to loathe anyone showing
Uh-huh.
weakness.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like if I start to sense someone playing a kind of victim energy, I just cringe,
Yeah.
like deep inside, I want to just get the fuck away from that energy.
Yes. And thank you for sharing that because, I too have my moments where it's just there's like this loathing and hatred, and I think most people are like, I can't say that out loud. I can't tell anyone
Yeah,
that I have these dark places. So I appreciate
right.
the vulnerability of sharing that, and just for me, for you to know, like, that is so human. We all have those, and it's
Yeah,
nothing to be ashamed of.
yeah,
And my sense is that, you navigate that really gracefully on the outside, but then at a cost to yourself on the inside.
exactly. There's just like the professionalism, the gracefulness, the you know skillfulness, but then on the inside there's like a almost like a death process occurring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I don't rectify it, it does begin to zap my vitality.
Totally.
And then I would tend to
Totally.
override it by like meditating more or
Uh-huh.
exercising more,
Right.
just chemically and spiritually kind of again transcend that vulnerable place
Yeah.
that doesn't want to admit, hey, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I need a break. I need basically to say what my wife said, like, this
Right.
is too much.
Right. And then it doesn't allow you guys to collaborate or work together
Yeah,
because there's that, right? Can't feel it, can't do it. I'm just going to go do it. And for you, you have these healthier ways. For other men, it can be drinking or gambling or
yeah,
sex or whatever, right? And there's like a
yeah,
mixture of all those ways that you can push it down. And then I just really felt that when you said the deadening inside.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gradual slippery slope of actually becoming more productive. Um, using healthy ways to outrun my pain.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and obviously it's not health. They're not healthy at that point. They're not healthy.
Right. Right. They're healthy-ish. There's something they're part healthy, but part pulling you away from yourself and your truth and
Yeah,
your vitality, like you said.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I can feel now that like poignant tenderness where this is the place that my wife was asking for,
Yeah.
asking me to apologize for not showing up, and that it took me like 10, 15 minutes to feel like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if I actually apologize from this place, it's not it's not like I'm agreeing that I'm a bad
Right.
father or bad.
It's not an admission of like,
Yeah,
you're right. I did these bad things. It's more just, oh, you felt this way and I'm
yeah,
sorry that you did.
yeah. I'm so sorry that I left you there. That I
Yeah.
wasn't aware
Yeah.
of the impact of my absence, and I wish that I had been. I
Yeah.
wish that I had been more tuned to you
Yeah.
and not expected so much,
Yeah.
in such an incredibly overwhelming time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just thought, from that place, you two may have even decided, I'm still going to go, or we're going to call your parents, or right. My sense is that the hurt so often comes in that aloneness or that sense of being left, not
Yeah,
in it's not the leaving. It's like, right, the not being attuned to, not being
that's
connected
it.
with. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's probably my biggest edge, is just losing touch with that vulnerable core within myself and within my marriage. Just like, wait, oh, I've lost,
Yeah.
because it feels like such a delicate place and
Totally. Yeah.
easily easily missed.
Yeah.
Easy
That's
to
what I was just, yeah. Easy to what?
disconnect from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it is. It's like the other thought I was just having, as you said, delicate was it's kind of I imagine it wouldn't occur to you or to most of us as like, oh, a lot gets done from here, a lot gets accomplished, or right. It can feel like, oh fuck, if I go there, I'm wondering what your fears are. Like, does it all fall apart? Do what's the fear for you if you actually were to allow more of that?
Yeah, if I go there, if I go there and I stay there,
Mm-hmm.
that that the engine that keeps our life going will
Yep.
turn off.
Yep. Yep.
And then I can hear, my father's voice. Then, we become irresponsible,
Mm,
to use a Yiddish word, irresponsible losers. We just
closures.
just hang out. We just hanging out.
Yeah.
waiting for someone to come take care of us and support us.
Yeah. And that's
That
not
feels
who you want to be.
that feels like the ultimate failure of society. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Right. So
wow,
like failures on the line. If you go there, and I heard
yeah,
you say stay there, which we can come back to, but right, like if you ultimately some part of you, if you go there, there's failures imminent. It's gonna happen.
yeah. The me that the part of me that knows how to push,
Mm-hmm.
like, would have to surrender a bit,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, well, then you're gonna be like a surf bum on the beach, just like
Right.
hanging out.
Right. And I just had a moment of feeling again that kind of globalization, like your wife maybe did in the moment of, oh, if you're not there one time, you're never there. I don't feel supported. And the parts of us that can be like, oh, right, if I go here, I'm just gonna stay. Like it is forever
Yeah.
this way.
At the same time, I can also feel this like craving in me to collapse into that,
Uh,
to become the beach bum.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I would
Let it
love,
all go.
yeah, live on the beach and just hang out. That would
Ooh,
be that would be amazing.
yeah. Yeah. Put down the responsibilities, not have to generate that engine day after day and
Yeah.
be the provider.
Hmm.
Yeah. What's your sense of like as you touch into this vulnerable part, I get curious what happens because here's my hypothesis and we'll see. Um, my sense is that for myself and for people I've worked with, like some of that exhaustion of providing comes from the bracing and that the pushing, the forcing, the like the have to mentality. And when we touch into this more vulnerable place, this more, I don't know, kind of easeful, flexible, some of that can go away or can almost feel a little bit like the metaphor of, oh, I get to go to the beach and relax. For me, sometimes happens when I actually touch into this place and I'm not fighting as I go.
That's exactly the energy that I feel is calling to me this
Yeah.
a much more kind of more of a fluid kind of yin yang relationship. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like if I go to the yin, I'll never be young. And it's like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
It's okay to go to the yin and then come back to the yang and not just be, yang all the time, just
Right.
cranky.
Yeah.
I can feel that that's the life that's calling me even more deeply into it. And
Yeah.
it feels so good. And
Mm-hmm.
I already have so much more than I used to. And I know that there's just more, like we talked about, like there's more refinement there for me to,
Yeah.
it's time to shut it down. It's time to slow it down. It's time to, go to the beach, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to like quit my whole life and just be like, I'm like going to Bali for 6 months.
Right.
Like, which, it's,
Oh, but we get to honor the part that wants that too, and I know as a single parent being the provider, right? It's like,
yeah,
yeah, the fantasies, we get to have the fantasies and then we also get to see, all right, how do I want to create a little bit of that? And then how do I want to work toward maybe I do want to go to Bali for a month or 6 months but from the place where we're driving, fear, right? Where we're run by the fear versus that more tender place. It's like
mhm.
we never get that freedom.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I can feel my whole body just feels so much more relaxed, and I'm like actually resting inside of that
Yes.
tender connective place. Like I'm connected to myself. I can connect with you. I can
Yeah.
connect with my wife. Like I'm here and I'm present and I'm just but I'm not, a 10 out of 10 energy. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm with my body in its capacity.
Yeah. And what do you mean you're not a 10 out of 10 would be like the forcing it or the
Yeah,
pushing?
right, right. I mean,
Which
I'm
is
a 10 out of 10 in the yin part, I
right.
guess.
I was gonna say it's an interesting scale, right? If we're making that the ideal or that the best place to be,
Yeah,
then this part
right.
doesn't get recognized.
Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah, that's been my pathological framework.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love just spending some moments here with you as you get to relax and get to feel deeper
Yeah.
breath, slower pace.
I'm remembering when I first started, working as a professional. my da- my dad was mentoring me, and he said, "If you don't leave the office dog ass tired every day,
Oh
you
my
haven't
God.
done a good job." And I'm like,
Fuck.
"Okay, okay, all right, I got it."
Yeah.
Fuck. Was I was
Right.
just I was just shaped to be.
And how long ago was that?
Uh, I think that this is when I went out on my own. This was 16 years ago.
Wow.
So before that, I was working with other people, but you know,
And
I
I'm
was
sure
not.
you also learned that before that moment, he
Yeah.
also showed you that, right? And how he
Oh
was
yeah.
living
Oh
and
my
what he
God.
was doing.
Oh my God. Unbelievable. I mean, the most tenacious, resourceful, indomitable person I've met.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To this day, he's in his 70s and he's still cranky.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's like we get to respect that. We can honor the part of him that has valued that and has made that
Yeah.
happen. I mean, it takes a lot.
It
And
does.
there's more subtlety. There's you said in the beginning, right? More nuance.
Yeah.
There's nuance here.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, when you're ready, I just want you to, as you're staying here, consider, just bring your wife to your heart and mind.
Yeah.
And just imagine what it feels like to connect with her from this place.
It's actually it feels it feels really I want to say beautiful and inclusive because when I'm actually in this space
Hmm.
and she maybe says something that um, it feels like she's not, seeing me,
Hmm.
I can actually feel it hurting.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm not in this space and she might say a comment like, you're not here, whatever, I, I, I'm more dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where that whole like female male arc stereotype comes in. I'm like, she's just complaining,
Yeah.
like women complain and like you just, like you be the dopey man and you just kind of like ignores it.
Yep.
I'm like,
Whatever. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That's like the whole sickness of our relational dynamic is
Yeah.
men and women. And I'm like, wow, that's what I do when I'm not actually attuned to my heart and my dignity.
Right. Right. Well, and when the hurt doesn't have to mean you're wrong or bad, or either, that you have to defend your worth,
Yeah.
then it can be a little more like, oh, I'm sorry you're hurting. Like, how can we together, look at that or collaborate? But if it feels like, ooh, that hurts, and now I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm the bad guy, I'm whatever those stories are, then of course, right, you wouldn't want to feel that.
I can feel this subtlety here where, like, when I say hurt, it
Mhm.
doesn't hurt like I was hurt when I was a little kid or like
Mm,
someone who betrayed me, like did something really fucked up, right? Like,
yeah.
and I can see as men, like, part of why it's hard to admit that something hurts is because when things hurt when we were younger or
Hmm.
like someone really betrayed us, like that is a deep emotional injury.
Yeah.
But when my wife says something where she's maybe not very present and it hurts, it's not like it hurts really, really badly, but
Mm,
it hurts a little bit. It hurts a little bit in comparison to these big hurts that I've been through.
hmm.
And I could see because it hurts a little bit, I would have a tendency to not, to treat it like a fly, like landing on my feet
Oh,
off me,
interesting. Uh-huh.
And I realized, but when I don't honor those little hurts,
Yep.
they become gradual resentments
Totally.
and slight, just like slight veneers of disconnection. Where I'm like, oh,
Yes.
just like a little bit of a very, very thin, clear wall between us. I can
Between
still
you.
feel you.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like
Hmm.
there's a condom over my whole body. And I'm just like,
Totally.
you know, it feels good, but it doesn't feel as good as it could,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
you know? And that's actually it's like a really interesting insight because I'm like, when I can see when I allow even just a little bit of that to be part of our culture,
Hmm.
it begins to create like it's the beginning of some degree of a loss of intimacy and connection.
Yep.
And I asked for like a subtle insight. This feels absolutely massive
Mm,
to have become aware of this.
yeah. And okay, so as you're aware of this, what's the dynamic that then plays out with that veneer, with that resentment that then doesn't have to happen?
Yeah, I pull away a little bit, like I won't make as much eye contact
Hmm.
and I won't be as sweet.
Yep.
And then I start to hear her as being a critical person.
Yeah.
Like my listening turns into you are a critical person.
Ah, right.
And then she actually, like, I don't know if she starts to actually become more critical or like I'm pulling that out of her.
Right. I mean, I think it's both. It's like
It's
if
probably both.
right, because we feel our partners hardening even just that little bit, and then if we're not aware of it, it's like we start resonating in that way with each
That's
other.
it.
Hmm.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, this happened a couple days ago, and that's exactly what started to play out. And God bless her. She was like, "Are you mad at me?" And God bless me. I actually said yes. Like
Mm, yeah.
before, I'd been like, "No, I'm
No,
fine."
I'm
Right?
fine. Whatever. Yeah.
She's like, "Okay." Then she'd go on a merry way. Right? But like, I actually said, "Yeah, I'm mad at you," and it was like, honestly, that's like never happened.
Mm,
I mean, she might say like, "Are you upset with me?" And I'm like, "No." But for me to be like, "Yeah, I
actually
am,"
be honest. Yeah.
and I wasn't like really upset. Like, God damn it, you fucking like. It wasn't like that. I was just like, "Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm mad at you, but like, I still love you and I want to be close to you."
Hmm. I think it was Terry Real I heard talk about, being able to tolerate the humanness of like, right, yeah, we're going to be mad at each other. We're going to be upset. We're going to be hurt. We're going to be disappointed. It's all part of being human together. And how brave it was to say, yeah, actually, there's something going on here. I'm not going to put up that veneer, that wall. I'm going to be vulnerable and not make it mean that I'm weak or that I'm, whatever bullshit can throw at yourself.
I can hear that male criticism, like that's what weak men do, that's
Yeah.
what like you're being a little bitch, don't complain.
Mm, ouch.
I mean, most men are run by that voice, right? Don't be a
Yeah.
pussy, don't be a
Yeah.
bitch, like kind of stuff.
Yeah. What do you think allowed you to not get stuck or, be kind of attack yourself with that voice and just let it be vulnerable?
I was valuing my connection with her
Mm.
more than my disconnection. And that made me keep pushing forward and realizing, like, particularly, like, you and I are having this great session right now, but the ultimate work is to do that in real time with my
In
wife.
real time, yes.
Like, that's where all that we're doing this for that.
Yeah.
And so that knowing that, I'm like, okay, I gotta push myself here in a push myself towards being vulnerable. Like
Right. Right.
it's
A
like
different
a
push.
yeah, it's like a surrendering into, which for someone who's used to pushing out to like
Hmm.
push kind of soften in is really challenging. I
Yeah.
mean, for all of us, I think to be that
Yeah.
vulnerable is hard.
Yeah. It is. I can feel that. And again, just working with people, right? How it's so counterintuitive to go that way.
Yeah, it is.
And yet, right, as we push out at each other, it's like, I don't know, I just had the image we're kind of pummeling each other,
Yeah,
even subtly. And then
yeah.
as we kind of do the inward push, I've seen this so many times where the walls start, one person's wall comes down and then the other's comes down, and then
Yeah.
we don't spin each other up into the defensiveness and the distance.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I get curious, for you, what it would be like to share with her. Um, there's a couple different pieces, right? One is like, okay, to have a place for yourself to go here, to stay here at times, knowing that you get to, like you said, yin yang, you come in, you come out. You don't like, it's not like you're gonna fall into this and just stay in this exact mode forever, the rest mode or the
Yeah.
tender mode. But right then, what happens when you imagine having a conversation with her where you let her into, oh yeah, this is a way that I was defending, or this is a way that I was not allowing myself to feel you, and this is how I want to navigate this together in the future.
Yeah, I think there's that's like another edge in front
Hmm.
of me, to kind of create some meta skills around this dynamic and process. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's one thing to know it in yourself, it's another thing to then bring your partner in to
yeah,
be with you in it, and that can be even more vulnerable.
yeah, yeah. Like in some ways, I have this expectation that when either of us brings a hurt forward, piece forward that would require the other to take some responsibility.
Mm,
Like I just expect that to be um, painful for each other, for the
right.
other person. And when you're asking me that, inviting me to feel more deeply, it makes me wonder, like, is there an even softer, more graceful way to like step into that conversation
Mm, hmm.
so that we can kind of like fall into each other's worlds more as opposed to like reluctantly like
Uh-huh.
surrender into like, oh dang, I fuck, yes, I hurt you, but here's all the reasons why, and
Right.
here's what I was doing. And like, oh shit, like, you know what? All of my reasons are not even important right now. Like,
Hmm.
you're important,
Yeah.
and we can talk about my reasons later, but let's
Right.
just like,
Let's just for now actually
yeah,
come back to each other. And later we can discuss, like, oh, maybe it was this. Maybe, yeah. How do
yeah,
we work with all those things?
right.
But can
And
we value each other first and that connection coming back together first?
I mean, that seems like so advanced to make that move, but
Right.
I really want to get there.
Yeah. I had a teacher once who said, I know it can feel like you're dying to listen to someone fully and not respond, and then wait till later to do the reasons. She was like, but that's right. That's the work. That I think it is very advanced because whatever part of us, the young one, the part that's like, fuck, I need to be heard. Uh, right. It has to give that up at least for a short while.
Yeah. Yeah, not fake it either. Be like, okay, I'm gonna like, pretend to
Mhm.
fully hear you, but like in the way back, I'm like, you fucking bitch, I
Right.
hate you.
Right.
That's that's not what I'm talking about.
Right. To actually let yourself be impacted and see, oh, if I did hurt someone, oh, how do I not have to defend even inside myself against that? Yeah. Like
That,
where,
yeah,
yeah.
that is a worthy pursuit.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think fuels me to do this is that my daughters are witnessing this happen.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And God, like, actually, that gives me so much desire to improve
Yeah.
my skills
Yeah.
emotionally because I so badly want them
Mm-hmm.
to see what like a healthy argument is
Yeah.
and healthy resolution. Like, I really want to teach them that. And so I've got to learn that.
Yeah.
And that gives me a lot of, like, it's one thing to do it for myself. Yes, I want
Yeah.
that personally, but for them, I want it so much more.
So much, right? It's such a powerful motivation.
We after like this, we like we're getting into it a few days ago, and our little one comes up to my wife Emily, later that day and says, "Are you and Daddy getting a divorce?"
No.
It was just like sweet and sad, but like we intentionally got into it, not right in front of them, but in a way that they could hear it,
Yeah.
because we want them to see the process of conflict and
Yep.
want we want to see we want them to see us doing it, trying to do it as respectfully as possible, but
Yeah.
also, with some heat and reality, not just like a dull, denatured, neutral, deadened expression.
Yeah.
That's a big, yeah,
That's
I can feel that
huge.
that really fuels me because I love them so much and I want them to be good at relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of that same, I don't know, I think about being able to have a conversation with them to say, oh, we're learning to love each other better. We're learning to communicate and we don't always do the best, but we are committed to each other. And right. It's so powerful for kids to see that you don't have to be perfect, but the more you respect each other and hear each other and right, understand each other and do your best to learn to love each other, the kids get that foundation and they get to learn from that is poof. Like what parent doesn't want that?
Yeah, I mean that that driver is a really healthy one
Yeah.
for me. Feels like it takes me right into the core of what's most important.
Mm, hmm.
And I love your invitation to actually have that conversation with them. Like, I'll do that tonight
Yeah.
just to, you know, explain to them, here's what's happened, here's what's happening. And
Yeah,
yeah,
just
I love that.
giving them the context and giving,
Yeah.
right, it helps us in our relationships, in our romantic relationships, partnered relationships, and then with our kids too. Yeah, like even being able to, right, as we were talking about before, go back to your wife and say, oh, here's what I'm getting about what has happened for me, and here's what I'm committed to, and at the debrief, the let's look
Yeah.
at this, let's be on the same team and look at this together versus
Right.
I've got to be alone over here with it. And
Yeah.
amazingly, right, you have a wife who sounds like you could have this kind of conversation with her. There are some men who, don't feel like they can have this conversation. And for them, I'm like, okay, we need to take a step back and support you to talk to your wife or your partner about how you talk to each other and can you be on the same team and all of those things. But sounds like you have that already.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
We have,
surprise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can think of men I work with who don't have that freedom, and I'm like very sad and frustrated by that.
Yeah.
It's so much more to overcome.
Yeah. And overcomable, I
Yeah,
believe.
it's
Right.
doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You said something, and maybe as we start to kind of wrap up and bring you back, but you said something about your kids and being that healthy driver, and it brings you in touch with what's most important. And I just wondered if you want to name anything else there.
Yeah. What used to be my priority was, of course, like providing and becoming better as a facilitator, as a healer, as a, clinician. And those things used to drive me, like motivate me.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what's shifted for me in the last few years, I think, particularly as my daughters have gotten older and they're really aware of me and Emily and life, is
Mhm.
that they're learning so much from how we behave, and
Yeah.
they've really become, the motivator for me. Like what there is to live for is, shaping their lives. Like that feels more important than my career and, even finances or um, my health is tied to that. Because if I'm not healthy, I can't have a good, I can't be here.
Yeah.
So, it's, in a way, living for them and shaping them. It's, uh, I mean, I say this to them every day, but I am so excited when I wake up in the morning.
Mm.
Every day, I'm so excited to see them, right? Like
Wow. Yeah.
just their beautiful faces and their energy and enthusiasm. Like
Mm.
it just feels like a miracle every day. I feel so lucky
Wow.
that I get to have these two beautiful people, these roommates that, live in my house. It's so cool. It's so fun. And
Yeah.
I feel really blessed to be their dad, you
Mm.
know. And then I have this beautiful wife and woman. She wants to hang out with me. And
Yeah.
God, I'm fucking winning, I am
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky.
I just imagine too how much more you get to delight in your kids and your wife too, but going back to your kids when that veneer is down also, right? Like there's more the more aliveness, the more vitality, the more you're not pushing, going, forcing, right? As you do touch into those tender places. Oh my God, to get to be that and be in the moment and in the awe and the wonder and the right, that kind of wildness that children bring us,
Mhm.
the sweetness.
Yeah. It feels so incredibly important.
Yeah. And thank you for being someone and being a man, especially. I mean, sometimes I feel like we shouldn't thank men more than, women or people of other genders for loving their kids. But I am deeply touched um, when I feel your love as a man for being a dad and for how much it matters to you to raise your girls consciously and, to love them fully.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your skill. I was like, as soon as I started to feel something, you would say it,
Mm-hmm.
would say what I was feeling. And I'm like, wow, she's right there with me in this whole process. Very intuitive,
Mm-hmm.
skillful.
Good. Feels like a huge honor.
Yeah, powerful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And thank you for, I think this is an example of the vulnerability, how the impact too, like your vulnerability. I feel softer, right? The provider parts of me as the single parent, the only income in this house, right? That are like, fuck, go. Uh, and today at the end of a snow week where my kid was home and I was working and all things, and I'm just like, oh, I'm fucking exhausted. And now there's a part of me that just feels like, oh, okay. Yeah, there are a couple more things to do to end out this week, but I also get to actually feel my heart. And I feel like buoyed and opened and supported by your being willing to go there. And I think that
Yeah.
does happen in our partnerships too. When we're not like either defending or thinking that we're bad, wrong, just, responsible, kind of collapsing, when we're actually in it together, there's a way that it opens both of us.
Hmm. Yeah, I completely feel that. I mean, with you, and I can feel that occurring already with my wife, and it's in this very quiet way. I'm actually excited to practice that more,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like I got way more than just a nuance, I got like
Mm,
several nuances that I can easily integrate. So
good.
thank you so much. Yeah, it's just amazing to work with you, and hopefully this is helpful for other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it will be. And yeah, I guess my hope is that if we do actually share this,
Yeah,
that that men get to see themselves in you and get to feel
yeah,
right safer to open up in those places as you've so beautifully and courageously demonstrated.
yeah. Thank you. I was getting the sense of, sometimes when I share vulnerably and I make it public, some folks will listen to it and go, "Oh my gosh, Luke, are you okay? Can I help you?" And I'm like, "No, no,
No,
I'm
no, no,
not,
no.
I'm not in crisis. I'm
Right.
doing great. This work is about like opening up to these deeper things that most of us aren't attuned to. And so
Yeah.
this is an example. I wanted to do this with you as an example of what a session looks like. And for you and I to both be super vulnerable to be like, hey, here's me, Shane, here's you facilitating super deep work, and here's me experiencing it, and this is what a session could look like,
Yeah. And
and
as coaches and facilitators, like I would come to you and do deep
yeah,
shadow work. Like we never
exactly.
get to the end of it. And I think,
No,
the more I'm opening I've been in a partnership for almost a year and a half. And as I open more and get closer to the point where we're talking about, would we live together? And we're talking about is like, would we spend a lot of time in one house together? Like we're avoiding even saying, I mean, we're joking about it, but right now these new pieces come up from my
yeah,
history and my past of, am I going to lose parts of myself? And so to me, it
right.
just, right, there's this ongoing process that if we're willing to stay open, we get to grow and deepen and evolve versus thinking, and sometimes I hate this because I'm like, can I just be done? Can I just have reached that point where nothing's going to bother me anymore? But like you said, we're not in crisis.
Yeah,
There's inquiry and there's more love and more pleasure and more joy and all of that to be had as we're willing to go into these darker, harder places too.
Yeah, I mean, this is our lifestyle is deep work and intimacy. So yeah, we've accepted there's no arrival and there's no destination. And it's a relief. It's a relief to know we're never going to arrive. We get to keep growing.
I
And
guess so. Sometimes I
sometimes,
hate it, but
uh,
yes, mostly it's a relief because then I'm not trying, right? I notice myself being like, I had a medicine journey recently and I was like, I think this is it. This is where I get to let go of all my ego and all
never,
my shit. And then I came to the other side and I was like, motherfucker, seriously? It's all still here.
it's
But
still
differently. It's here, but
a
differently, right? Yeah.
different relationship to it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Fantastic.
I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and it gave you something to consider and explore in your life. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz or text the word alive, ALIVE, to 44144 to get a sense of how you can become a better lover and leader. You'll start to see how you can be both more respected and desired in your unique and genuine way. If you don't feel as confident or as excited about life or love as you'd like to be, this quiz is a really great starting point and will guide you toward a more passionate love life and a more inspiring and successful career. So again, text ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144 or head over to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.